This is my Worx lawnmower. I've had it for over a decade, and over time the battery has failed on me, and I've had to replace the battery, and things have broken in regards to the way the battery is charged into the lawnmower, and I charge it using an external charger. However, what happened maybe over a decade ago, this plug here kind of started arcing, and I had to do a workaround to make the connection work, but it's gotten much worse, and it's basically gotten at some point stuck or melted in here because I think of the heat, because I think it might be arcing again. So I wanted to repair this. I no longer, so the reason why this plug is here, one reason is you can remove it and then pull the whole battery compartment out if you needed to. But now the way I charge it, I don't need to remove this battery because I charge it with the lawnmower in place. So now I'm going to wire it directly to the battery. All right, here's my finished product, as you can see. And now this is the old plug cap again. This was again on here like this, and there was a used to charge here, so you may have a Worx like that, battery like that, where you just plug here. This is what it used to look like. Now this is what it looks like, and it closes completely. So I'm very pleased with that. All right, so what we're going to do is I'm going to show you the situation with this wiring, and I'm going to directly wire it to the battery. As you have to start it anyway, so there's a cutoff. And I just want to clarify, I'm not an electrician. I'm doing this as the best I can figure it out, but I've used the same gauge wiring in the battery itself, in the battery area, as it has previously been wired. So always use the right gauge wire. Be very careful. This is a 24-volt system, so just be careful when doing this. And if you don't feel comfortable doing this or don't know how to do it, get someone to do it for you that's professional. And so let's get to this. I'm going to show you the situation here. So many years ago I've had trouble plugging this in, and what I noticed, and I think it was from the constant pulling and pulling out of this, and you can see this is the plug that plugs into the battery itself. Again, this case was originally meant to be a enclosed case. The batteries died on me and wouldn't get recharged, so I had to replace the batteries myself. And so I got my own 12-volt batteries, and they're a little taller than the ones that originally came with it, so no longer could really shut this. So I just kept it open, and eventually the charger which came with this broke, and so I had to buy a separate charger, and now I charge directly to the posts in the battery. So I bought a 12-volt, 24-volt battery charger, and I use that now, and it works well. The only problem is I can't pull this battery compartment out. So before, the reason this orange plug it existed, I think, was mainly to unplug it so that this battery could be pulled out by itself. So now, in order to charge it, you'd have to remove this plug as well, because the charging port plug is underneath this. So over time, it stopped working before the battery actually died on me, and it was because this plug, and I'll show it to you, started to arc and cause melting, and then it wasn't connected. So I ended up completing the connection, and it worked for many years, and now it's starting to again give me problems. You can see it's very difficult to remove. There you go. Okay, so now I'll show you what happened here. As you can see in here, it's all kind of burnt up. Before, I never looked in here. Screws, in case I need to put it back together for whatever reason. Now that I've removed the screws, you know how to remove this cap here. Open it, something like this. Here you go. So I'm going to pop this open. There you can see it looks very nice. Good wiring. It's not going to remember when it was plugged in. Right? This is red. You can see the red slightly down here. Okay, but I'm going another way to remember is this would plug like this, and when I look underneath, this wiring plugs into this one. So I'm going to unscrew these, unscrew the terminals, and then I'll figure out how I want to wire this. Let's do that first. So do this one wire here. You can see right here, this, I'll just pull this out. There you go. So now, as you can see right there, actually start feeding through here into the main plug, here into the bolt area. So let's move this out of the way, don't need it anymore. Make this as simple as possible. Maybe I can wind the wire around this. I don't know how that'll look. But I also bought some wing nuts. Fit the gauge of the wiring. I bought these wing nuts here, Home Depot. And now I'll have to figure out how do I want to wire this now. Well, there's the wiring there, so I might be able to do this wiring. It's pretty thick wiring, I have to say. Yeah, it's the right gauge. I think this is like 12 gauge wiring, and my wing nuts fit up to 10 gauge wiring. This is 12 gauge wiring. So let me figure this out here. So first, let me move this out of the way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this out. This is easy to remove because I jammed. It was really in bad shape. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to unwire this thing because I don't want a connection coming through. So I'm going to unbolt this thing first before doing anything else. So I don't want to complete a connection by accident. So I'm going to I'm going to disconnect. I don't know what the right term is. I'm going to break circuit flow here, keep unwiring this white wire here from the battery that are in series. So that way, when I work on this, touch the wires, I'm not going to continue the connection. That is undone. Put that down here so it doesn't reconnect. So I'll pull the wire out completely. Don't want this accidentally retouching. I'm going to take this out. And I'm going to pull this wire, plug out of here. See if it'll come out first. There you go. So there. Pulled out the white wire here. Do the same thing over here. Just get this out of the way here. This one's pretty damaged. Let me cut this out here. Alright, so now this cap is done. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to wire this directly to the red and directly to this white wire, right? But let's take a look at what's going on here. Wirings are kind of stuck together a little bit. I'm using this wire stripper. I'm just going to put enough for it to so I can create a bond. I don't think I'm going to use the switch because it's not enough. I don't have enough play here. The way this is designed, these wirings are like kind of stuck together. It's kind of crazy how this was. That should be enough play here. Go with that. Spin this around a bit. This works really well. This little there's play here. I can pull this off. Look at that. Look at that. Beautiful. So now my wing nut. Take this end here, clean this off a little bit. Strip this with a 10 gauge. This might be actually a 12 gauge wire. That was what was on here before. Let's see here. Let's go with 12 gauge. There you go. They've got a nice clean surface here. If I just join these two together like this. Use a wing nut. Let's see if I have enough play here. So I got this wing nut here. So these need to be pressed together. Got this wing nut. Get the right size, and that should twist on, spinning it together. Very good tight fit. Alright, pretty good. Let me clean this up here. Crap here. This is solidly on there. It's just good and tight. There you go. Just use the wire cutters for what they're supposed to. Try to trust what you got. Alright, so now we got that. Let's clean off this other excess thing here before I put the cap on. Okay, good. Okay, so now I got this wiring here. I got this. This is pretty clean. So I'm going to match this up like this. And then I'm going to get make sure you use the right kind of wing nut size. Works pretty well. So let's put these together. Make sure this is all straight. They're close together here. Then there's a spring inside here that causes them to get twisted together. Make sure you use the right wiring. Don't use, the right wing nut. So these have little grippies on them. So I'm just going to twist this till I feel it get really tight. Yeah, that's about good right now, right? So I'm feeling some good resistance. Alright, I think we're getting in business here. So I'm going to tape them up later. Let me just make sure this works before I tape them all up. Okay, so now I'm going to fasten that in. Put this back in, put the bolt back in here. It goes in here. Take the white wire. Just put this in here like this. We'll see if I need to get it or not, but turn this back in here. It's tight. Okay, so let's just see if this works here. So I've rewired this, as you can see. Alright, so let me just go over what I did before I try to start this thing. Okay, so originally the way this was configured was this was on top here. And originally the reason why it was on top is this used to be a self-contained battery pack. And this cable here utilized this to plug into the battery pack, so you could remove it and remove the battery pack, and also there's a charging port right here. What happened as well, as you can see, these are kind of all burnt out. One point it started arcing, and I was able to overcome that, prevented the arcing, and that worked for a long time. Then I think through removing and removing this constantly caused more damage, and it started arcing again, and it just got stuck. Now it still worked, but I just didn't want to have to deal with that anymore. Was not using the cap, was not using this plug because no longer could remove the batteries because I had to keep it open anyways. So now what I've done, essentially, I removed the wiring from this casing, stripped it clean, removed a couple of the little connectors, O-ring connectors here that were at the tip of this wiring. Took this wiring here that was before feeding into here, right? This wire and the red wire were connected to here. Okay, so this is what it looked like before. I took all that apart, did a direct connection, used these wing nuts, the right size wing nut. I think this is 12 gauge wiring. Anyways, this uses up to 10 gauge wiring, so I'm good to go. Use the correct wing nuts. I'm going to tape this off just to keep it more stable, but I want to test it out here. So let's see if this works. And I just rewired everything. When I was doing this connection, I disconnected the white wire because I didn't want to accidentally touch both wires, complete the circuit. I did not want to do that, so I disconnected that while I was doing this activity. It's all wired properly. Let's check it out. All right, YouTubers, let's see if we were successful here. Again, we rewired this directly to the battery. This Worx lawnmower has a safety switch here. Just push the switch down, pull the handle, and see if it starts. All right, we did it. It works. All right, so hopefully that was helpful, you doers. If you feel uncomfortable doing stuff like this, please get a professional to do it, or don't do it at all. But one last thing, just to let you know, remind you, I disconnected the white wire here, basically to break the circuit when I was working on this. I didn't want to accidentally touch both wires together at the same time, the red and white wires. I unscrewed this while I was reconnecting these cables here. All right, you doers, hope you learned something here, and keep getting things done. Please like and subscribe. Let's keep getting things done here. Have a safe day. Thanks again. All right, here's my finished product. As you can see, I put this little. Here's my finished product. I put this little switch. I used the cap from this plug just to cover up the positive terminal. Just a little bit of safety, so it's not exposed. Sort of like in a car, they have a cap. I actually taped everything down, secured this plug area a little bit better just so there's no tugging, although there shouldn't be any, and it closes completely. So I'm very pleased with that. Alright, so keep on at it, you doers.